Well, hello everybody. How nice for me to get a chance to talk to all of you. I'm making this recording from the vicarage. The vicarage is where I live. It's my home. And I'm doing it from the vicarage because I am imagining that most of you are watching this recording from your homes, or maybe from somebody else's home if you're staying with somebody else, because it's still the end of the summer holidays, isn't it? We're going to be going around the vicarage looking for different things later, because part of our activity is going to be you, if you would like to, looking around your homes to find certain things. We're going to look for them in the vicarage too. But before we start that, I think we need to remember what happened in our gospel reading last week. I'm going to show you a picture, see if you can remember. Now this is quite hard because actually this doesn't look quite the same as the picture that I showed you last week. Last week, Jesus was with the disciples in a place called Caesarea Philippi. And Caesarea Philippi, actually, I had a place, I showed you on the recording that I made for the Bible story. In the background was a picture of what Caesarea Philippi looks like today. It's an ancient monument. There are lots of ruins there, ruins of temples to different gods, different Roman gods. And in this place, which was a place where if you were there, perhaps you were thinking about different Roman gods, or if you were a worshipper of some of those Roman gods, you might have been saying prayers to those Roman gods. It's in that place that Jesus, let me turn him round, asks his disciples, this is what we heard last week, who do you say that I am? And Peter, here he is the one who says, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. And it's a strange thing because the Bible says that Jesus tells the disciples not to tell anyone that he is the Messiah. Now, the next part of the story, this is the part of the story that we're going to hear today. Matthew writes that Jesus begins to tell his disciples what is going to happen to him next. He tells them that he's going to suffer. He tells them that the chief priests and the scribes, all the religious leaders, are going to make him suffer. And he tells them that he's going to die. And he tells them that 3 days later he will rise again. That's what we remember at Easter, isn't it? Jesus rising from the dead. But when Peter hears that, when he hears what Jesus says about what's going to happen to him, Peter says, no, Lord, that can never happen to you. And Jesus explains to Peter that it has to happen to him. And then Jesus says such a strange thing. He says, if anyone wants to be one of my disciples, then let them deny themselves. That means let them not put themselves first. Let them think about other people more than themselves. Let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. What a strange thing. We'll think a little bit more about that at the end. Let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. Now, this is where we're going to start our activity. Normally, we do these recordings in the church, don't we? And when we're in the church, we see lots of crosses. Sometimes I say to children, if they're feeling a bit bored in church, a lovely game to play, because you don't need any equipment, is to see how many crosses you can count. I always think that's a good game. See how many crosses you can count. And that is actually going to be the activity that I'm going to suggest that you do this morning if you would like to do it. But when we're counting crosses, we don't have to be only counting crosses like that one. You might have in your house a cross a bit like that one, maybe a cross on a wall. I've got some of those in the vicarage I'm going to show you in a minute. But see how many cross shapes you can find. I found one. I would have to get up now. Well, in fact, even in front of me. Look at that window. There is a cross shape, isn't there? Where the bars of that window make a cross. That could be one cross, so I've got one on my list. Now, here is another. I don't know whether you've seen this, if you've been to the vicarage, whether you've noticed this on the wall. This wooden thing, there's a picture under it, but that wooden thing, that is a cross from a country in Africa called Ethiopia. In the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, lots of the crosses, somebody has carved that cross by hand out of wood. Lots of the crosses in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church are made to look like trees. In the Bible, sometimes when it talks about the cross, it talks about the tree of life. You might remember the story at the very beginning of the Bible, where there is a tree of life. Some Christians think of the cross as a new tree of life, the tree that Jesus, which was a different sort of fruit, hung on and brought life to the world. And underneath, if you noticed it, that is a picture from Ethiopia that Christine and David, who are members of our church choir, very kindly brought to me from Ethiopia. So I've hung it underneath my Ethiopian cross. So there's a second cross, 2 crosses on my list. Now, if we keep going, I remember I thought of a cross. It's a bit dark here, I'm afraid, but how about that? Can you see the cross in the middle? Well, not quite the middle, towards the top of my front door. There is a cross shape. If I move to where I do my work, you can see it's a very big mess in here, but never mind. You can still see the crosses amongst the mess. Can you see at the top there? It's where I store some of my things. That is my friend Leo, who is now at Soham Village College. That was a copy of the amazing Easter bonnet that he made. I think I've shown you that in church before. There is a cross, because Leo put a cross at the top of his Easter bonnet. It was a wonderful thing, and I always remember that. So there's one cross. Underneath, I have got, I wonder if you've got any of these in your house, a palm cross. Sometimes people store up their palm crosses. We didn't get palm crosses this Palm Sunday, unfortunately, because of all the lockdown. But next Palm Sunday, hopefully, we will be able to have palm crosses again. See, I wonder if you've got any of those in your house. If you haven't, you could even make yourselves one. It's a very easy thing to do. You might not have palm leaves, but you could find some cardboard perhaps and make yourself one. I've got another cross just under here. This is special to me. This is a cross. Do you see it? So, with love from all your friends at St Mary's. When I was a curate, like Hannah is our curate, I used to do assemblies in St Mary's Primary School in St Neots, and very terribly, before I was there was a fire in St Mary's Primary School, and lots of the building got destroyed, but some of the wood of the building survived, some of the roof, and the people made crosses out of that remaining wood, and then they had some builders in to make the school all good again. And when I left, very kindly, the pupils and the teachers and the helpers at St Mary's School gave me that cross, so I would always remember them. So I have that near me on my, you can see, very messy desk. Now let's see any more crosses. Oh, I know, I've got a cross. Oh, look, now then, can you see that one? That's actually my newest cross. That is one. If we look at it, that one Can you see? It says to Reverend Eleanor from Kyle. Isn't that lovely? And Kyle, look, July 2020. I had an email from Mr. Anderson, who is one of the teachers at St Andrew's Primary School, near the end of term. And Mr. Anderson said, Kyle has made you a cross. Can he give it to you? And I went to take that beautiful cross from Kyle that he had made, and I have it in my office. And I've got a few more crosses in here. There we are, more traditional crosses. Those are in my cupboard because I use them for different things. There we are, that cross. You see this one? That's got like a crown of thorns, hasn't it, around Jesus's head. And there's Jesus on the cross on Good Friday. So I stopped counting, which was silly of me. I can't remember how many crosses all that was. But, oh, one last cross, because this is actually the crosses that gave me the idea. When I open this door, a fan is going to go on, so there's going to be a funny noise. Now, can you see? I was sitting on my toilet the other day, and I was thinking about this activity. And look, can you see crosses on the floor? That is what gave me the activity. Can you see Bella's looking there? She's thinking, what on earth is happening in my house? Crosses on the floor. So, see how many crosses you can find in your house. I'm going to go back now to where I'd set up our things here. See how many crosses you can find in your home. How many cross shapes? I was thinking, so Jesus says to Peter, there he is, that actually anyone who wants to be Jesus's follower has to take up their own cross and follow him. It says they have to deny themselves, take up their cross and follow him. I was thinking, what does that mean? When I thought about Jesus and I thought about his cross, I thought, well, if I get Jesus, actually, I could stand him next to it, couldn't I? But we'll sit him. Shall we just sit him on that wood next to it? I'm sure that Jesus might have, if Jesus hadn't been somebody who prayed and somebody who was thinking all the time, what is the right thing to do? Jesus might have thought, well, I don't think I want to die on that cross. Good heavens, who would want to do that? I think I might like to go off and please myself. I think I might avoid something that is difficult and that I don't want to do. But Jesus didn't think that, did he? Jesus thought about all the people that needed him. He thought about all the people that needed him, and he thought how they needed an example about how to love one another. And we know, don't we, that the most amazing example of loving one another was Jesus, who even died on the cross to show us that if we love one another, we don't think about ourselves first. We deny ourselves. We don't think about ourselves first. We think about those other people. What do they need? And we do our very best to be people who are loving people, people who are kind people. Maybe for us that means maybe the cross might be thinking, well, maybe there's somebody in my school, because we're going to go back to school soon, aren't we? Maybe when you get back to school, there'll be a new person in your class. Or maybe there'll be someone who last year nobody liked very much, somebody who always got left out. Maybe a thing to do if we're trying to follow Jesus' example is to think, how can I help that person? Even if I'd rather be with my friends. It might feel a bit like a little cross because it might feel difficult to do. But maybe the kind thing would be to go up to that new person or to that person who nobody liked very much and say, would you like to join in? Would you like to play with me? Or maybe even, if they're allowed, would you like to come and play in my garden? Or something like that, because that's a way of showing love, isn't it? So hunting for all those crosses in our houses. There's that one again. just reminds us, I hope, that there are lots and lots of different ways that we can show that we are followers of Jesus. Different ways where we can think, well, I might prefer to do something else. I might prefer not to tidy up my toys, for example, but it would be kinder to the grown-ups in my house if I tidied those toys and they didn't have to. Which might feel like a little cross because it's difficult, but actually it would help. And we all need, don't we, to help one another, especially at the moment when things are a bit tricky. So that is my idea for an activity. And now Hannah is going to read our reading to us. Thank you, Hannah.
Hear the Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ, according to Matthew. Glory to you, O Lord. From that time on, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and undergo great suffering at the hands of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and on the third day be raised. And Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, God forbid it, Lord, this must never happen to you. But he turned and said to Peter, Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me, for you are setting your mind not on divine things, but on human things. Then Jesus told his disciples, If any want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit them if they gain the whole world but forfeit their life? Or what will they give in return for their life? For the Son of Man is to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will repay everyone for what has been done. Truly I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. This is the gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ.